Caitlin Clark just did something no athlete, male or female, has ever pulled off. And the craziest part? Almost nobody saw it coming. Her new commercial, the one that people thought was just a flashy brand spot, it's not just smart. It's strategic genius on a level that should have the entire sports world shaking. Because this wasn't just about selling sneakers, or sports drinks, or some quick endorsement check. This was Caitlin rewriting the rules, turning a 60-second ad into a high IQ power move that secretly exposes the entire broken system of women's sports, flips the spotlight back onto the WNBA, and puts her own name in the middle of a marketing play so layered, so calculated. Even veteran ad execs are calling it a masterclass in message control. And what's buried in the background of the ad? It's not just set design. It's coded. It's positioning. It's intention. From the color scheme, to the timing of the narration, to the camera pan over the crowd. There are symbols in this commercial. Clear shots fired at her critics, veiled messages to WNBA executives, and even an Easter egg moment that directly calls out the exact controversy brewing around her real value. This isn't branding. This is warfare. And Caitlin Clark just sent a message that changes everything. Stay tuned, because once we break it all down, frame by frame, you'll realize. This wasn't just a commercial, it was a warning. When Caitlin Clark first hit the national radar, she wasn't just another rising star. She was something different. From the moment she stepped on the court, her energy was electric. Her style, fast, confident, unapologetically bold, broke through the traditional media mold of humble, quiet female athletes. And that's exactly what made the industry panic. The NCAA didn't know how to brand her. The WNBA didn't know how to control her. But fans, they were obsessed. Clips of her pulling up from the logo went viral overnight. Her stare-downs became memes. Her trash talk was dissected like political speeches. People weren't just watching her play, they were watching her challenge the system. And every time she racked up another win or dropped 40-plus points, she didn't just shift the scoreboard, she shifted culture. But with the fame came the backlash. Because in a sports landscape where women are constantly told to be grateful, humble, or smiling ambassadors, Caitlin's intensity was dangerous. She didn't just want to win, she wanted to dominate. And the traditional media establishment? They weren't ready for that. Suddenly, think pieces started rolling out. Headlines that questioned her sportsmanship. Commentators that called her cocky. Entire segments designed to reframe her confidence as a problem. And then came the sponsorship drama. Despite being one of the most talked about athletes in America, male or female, Caitlin was still being underpaid, undervalued, and undermarketed. Her NIL deals were massive, yes, but even then, major brands hesitated to give her the kind of top-tier campaigns she clearly deserved. Why? Because she wasn't safe. Because she made people uncomfortable. Because she didn't play the smile and nod game. And behind closed doors, industry insiders knew it. Now, one leaked marketing memo from a major brand, name redacted, revealed internal debate over whether Caitlin's public attitude was too divisive for a family campaign. Too divisive? For scoring 41 points in back-to-back NCAA games? That's when Caitlin flipped the narrative. Instead of waiting for brands to use her, she started using them. She began choosing partnerships strategically, deals with companies that let her lead creatively, campaigns that gave her the mic. And in every ad she touched, the messaging became clearer. She wasn't just an athlete, she was a disruptor. Which brings us to this commercial, the one that just broke the internet. Because this ad isn't just cool, it's not just cinematic, it's not even just empowering. It's a middle finger to every critic who told her to sit down, smile more, and to respect the process. And here's where it gets genius. At first glance, the ad is simple. Caitlin walks into an empty gym. Lights flicker on. She laces her shoes. The camera zooms in as she starts warming up. A narrator begins. "They said I was too loud, too fast, too bold. that I should wait my turn, that I'd never change the game. So I did. Boom. The timing, the delivery, the venom under the calmness, it was surgical. But if you pause it frame by frame, you'll find the hidden punches. The banners hanging in the background, they're not random. One says 2023 silenced. Another says 2024 heard. A subtle nod to how she was ignored for years, then forced the world to listen. The shoes she wears, custom colorway, and fans noticed something odd. The laces are mismatched. One black, one white. Internet sleuths immediately linked it to her famous light and dark post-game quote about handling pressure and fame. Subtle, symbolic, deliberate. But here's the real killer, the ad's final frame. Caitlyn stands at mid-court. The camera pans up, and on the scoreboard above her, a single word, value. That's it, not victory, not respect, not champion. Value. In a world where the WNBA still struggles to pay its top stars what they're worth, where the media still questions if she's earned her spot, and where brands still hesitate to go all in, Caitlyn just declared herself as the market reset. She isn't asking to be valued anymore. She's setting the price. And every second of this commercial, every subtle nod, every spoken line, every background detail is part of that. So why did the world miss it? Because she didn't yell. She didn't clap back on Twitter. She didn't sit down for a fiery podcast interview. She let the ad do the talking. That's not just marketing, that's domination. What looked like a sleek, empowering ad was actually a precision strike. Caitlin Clark's commercial didn't just show her talent. It exposed a system that's been failing women athletes for decades. And she did it without naming names, pointing fingers, or dragging anyone directly. That's what made it dangerous. It was clean, subtle, and completely uncontrollable. And for the people behind the scenes, the agents, the executives, the PR strategists, it was like watching a tactical nuke get dropped in slow motion. Because by the time they realized what she had done, it was already too late. Here's where the first cracks began to show. Just hours after the commercial went live, some multiple verified burner accounts on Twitter, now X, all suspiciously connected to WNBA media personalities, started posting critiques that felt oddly coordinated. Cool ad, but feels like Caitlyn's saying she's the only one who matters? All that drama in 60 seconds. Why not just play ball? It's giving me I'm the savior energy, just hoop. And that was the tell. Because this wasn't just casual criticism. It was the beginning of a pushback campaign. Multiple marketing analysts later confirmed that the timing, phrasing, and frequency of those early critiques followed patterns they've seen in narrative steering campaigns used to contain backlash or redirect attention. Translation? Someone powerful was panicking, and they wanted to start soft canceling Caitlyn before the ad gained too much momentum. But by then, it had already gone viral. Millions of views, retweets from sports legends, endorsements from business leaders, even Nike execs who weren't involved in the campaign called it bold, visionary, and a new standard for athlete storytelling. Meanwhile, inside the WNBA, tensions were boiling. Anonymous players started dropping cryptic tweets. Some of y'all got the whole machine behind you and still play victim. We been here, y'all just started watching. Cute commercial. Now try defending a pick and roll. The subtext was loud. Some WNBA veterans felt Caitlyn had skipped the line. And for years, those same veterans had been promised the kind of marketing push Caitlyn now seemed to command with a single commercial drop. But here's the twist. Caitlyn's ad? It wasn't funded by the WNBA. It wasn't part of their league-wide branding. It wasn't filtered through team approval. It was a direct deal, negotiated independently through a media group Caitlyn began working with last year. A group composed of former NBA media architects who believed the WNBA was marketing its stars all wrong. And their pitch? Let Caitlyn run her message. Let her design it. Let her speak to her real audience. That audience? Everyone. Because that ad didn't speak just to basketball fans. It spoke to underdogs, creatives, young women who are tired of being undervalued, and even to investors who understand the power of narrative capital. In fact, one of the ad's silent backers was a Silicon Valley founder who believed Caitlyn's brand wasn't just athletic, it was philosophical. He told a private podcast, off air, "Caitlyn is doing what no one in women's sports has done. She's not asking for respect, she's shaping the demand curve." And that's when the conflict got real. Because Caitlyn's commercial didn't just elevate her, it made everyone else look like they weren't playing the same game. Her rivals were still waiting on team PR teams to land campaigns. Caitlyn, she created her own campaign. And in doing so, she cornered the WNBA. Here's how. By releasing a commercial that directly positioned her against the system while still being part of it, Caitlyn forced WNBA leadership into an impossible position. If they celebrated the ad, they'd be admitting that their own branding strategies failed. If they criticized it or stayed silent, they'd risk appearing threatened by their most valuable rookie. And fans noticed. One tweet that went viral summarized it perfectly. "The WNBA wants Caitlyn to fill arenas but not shake tables. She just did both." Meanwhile, sponsors started whispering. Major brands that had hesitated to commit to big WNBA ad buys suddenly started reaching out to Caitlyn's reps directly. Not to the league, to her. One leaked email, verified by multiple journalists, revealed that a Fortune 500 brand sent this message just 36 hours after the commercial dropped. "We underestimated the reach and message clarity. Please let us know if her Q3 calendar has flexibility. We'd like to discuss a long-term platform buyout opportunity." Translation: "We were sleeping. Now we're ready to pay." And here's where things took a darker turn. Behind the scenes, and sources say WNBA officials met to discuss containment strategies. Not to stop Caitlyn, but to recenter the spotlight on other league stars who were reportedly feeling marginalized by the Caitlyn wave. One internal quote leaked, "We need to diversify the attention. This can't become the Caitlyn League." But by the time they tried, Caitlyn was already 10 steps ahead. Because what fans didn't know? The ad was just part one. 3 days after the commercial dropped, and while the league was still scrambling to issue a statement that didn't sound jealous, panicked, or tone-deaf, Caitlin Clark's team posted something strange. A cryptic teaser. Black background, white text, no logo. It read, "The game isn't broken, it's controlled." July 14th, 2024. No caption, no tags, no sponsors. Fans lost it. Was this a docuseries? A new apparel line? As another brand partnership? Or something else entirely? Speculation exploded. Reddit threads dug into the numbers. 7/14/24 was still weeks away, but one thing was clear. This was coordinated. Caitlyn's commercial wasn't just a personal flex. It was step one in a calculated campaign that was about to burn the entire old model of athlete marketing to the ground. Because while the WNBA was busy trying to absorb her into its structure, Caitlyn was building her own. Let's rewind. What most people missed when watching the commercial was this. It wasn't just a story about her. It was a blueprint, a hidden framework that revealed a completely new athlete-led content model, where the player becomes the producer, the writer, the distributor, and the face. Not just a spokesperson, not just a logo hugger, but the engine. And now, our insider sources were confirming Caitlyn had been planning this for over a year. Since her junior season, she'd been meeting privately with a team of former Nike executives, ex-Netflix brand strategists, and digital disruptors from the world of esports. The goal? Not just to tell her story, but to rebuild the power structure of women's sports from the ground up. One source, who asked to remain anonymous, said, "She's not building a brand, she's building an infrastructure, something that frees players from the league's gatekeepers." The first phase? The commercial. The second phase? a direct-to-fan platform launching on July 14, 2024. Yes, it's real. According to early leaks, Caitlyn is launching her own branded media hub, a cross between Masterclass, Prime Video, and the Players' Tribune. The goal? To spotlight undervalued WNBA players, amplify athlete stories, and give fans direct access to content without league interference. And it's called Court Vision. Let that sink in. While the league scrambled to push out old-school promo reels and safe highlight montages, Caitlyn was building a digital ecosystem that didn't ask for approval, one that positioned her not just as the most popular rookie, but as the producer of the entire culture. Court Vision will feature behind-the-scenes training breakdowns, storytelling content from overlooked players, raw locker room convos, unfiltered reactions to game day drama, and a section called Unwritten Rules, where athletes expose the real politics of the league. That section alone has the WNBA terrified. Why? Because for years, the league has managed its image through strict control, limiting player media appearances, vetting off-season brand deals, and stifling internal criticism. But Caitlyn's platform is a fire hose of everything they've tried to bottle up. And the first episode? Allegedly titled, Why I Wasn't Supposed to Talk Yet. It's not hard to guess what that's about. But here's the real shocker. Caitlyn isn't doing this alone. In fact, several current and former WNBA players, some of whom previously shaded her publicly, have now quietly joined the project. According to sources, names like Chelsea Gray, Arik Ogunbowale, Chini Ogwumike are all in talks or already filming episodes. Why? Because once they saw how the league refused to capitalize on their personalities for years, while Caitlyn just did it herself, they realized something. Maybe she isn't the problem. Maybe the system is. And now, the veterans are shifting. What started as jealousy is turning into alignment. One player allegedly told Caitlyn privately, I used to think you were just the media's golden girl, but now I see. You were fighting the same battle. You just brought a camera crew. And that's when the WNBA's PR strategy collapsed. Because while the league tried to keep the spotlight balanced, Caitlyn offered to hand it out herself. And players took it. But that's not the final twist. The last 20 seconds of Caitlyn's ad, once believed to be artistic filler, are now believed to be a coded rollout teaser for Court Vision. If you rewatch it, the crowd sound slowly fades in as she stands alone at half court. It builds, 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 and then static. A flicker on the scoreboard. A hidden message frame, barely visible unless you pause at the perfect second, reads, Don't watch for me. Watch for the ones they didn't show you. The message wasn't to fans. It was to the league. This wasn't a cry for attention. It was a rally cry for the entire women's sports movement. Caitlyn had flipped the script from media darling to media disruptor, and now she was bringing the rest of the WNBA with her. Willingly. Or not. And that explains the final leak. A draft letter, allegedly from top WNBA execs, proposing policy changes to player media rights in response to unauthorized personal platforms potentially confusing brand messaging. In other words, we don't control this, shut it down. But it's too late. Caitlyn doesn't need permission. And for the first time in history, the league doesn't own the narrative. She does. It started with the fans. Within 24 hours of the cryptic Court Vision teaser post, the hashtag Game is Controlled was trending at #1 on X. TikTok exploded with creators breaking down each frame of the commercial like it was a Nolan movie. Fan theories turned into movement slogans. Even people who had never watched a WNBA game were suddenly glued to the Caitlyn saga. But here's what made it different. This wasn't just support. It was a full-blown cultural awakening. Caitlyn's commercial and the Court Vision platform it hinted at spoke to every single person who's ever been underestimated, sidelined, or told to wait their turn. People in sports. people in corporate life, creators, musicians, women in male-dominated industries. They all saw themselves in Caitlyn's fight. One TikTok went viral with 12 million views. Caitlyn Clark didn't just launch a brand, she launched a mirror. And now every rigged system is trying to break that mirror before we see too much. But the most unexpected reactions came from inside the sports world. Athletes from the NBA, MLB, even the UFC weighed in. Draymond Green posted, "They hate her 'cause she didn't wait for permission. Now they scared she gon' build something none of them can stop." Serena Williams, who rarely comments on these topics anymore, posted an Instagram story showing Caitlyn's commercial with the caption, "This is how you change the game without asking." That moment alone sent shockwaves, because Serena's stamp is gold. It signaled that Caitlyn's movement wasn't just loud, it was legit. Meanwhile, ESPN was caught completely off guard. Behind the scenes, execs reportedly scrambled to secure exclusive rights to cover Caitlyn's upcoming platform drop. The multiple ESPN insiders revealed the network was embarrassed. They didn't catch wind of the campaign rollout earlier. One anonymous producer said, "We treated her like just another rookie. We didn't realize she was playing an entirely different game." But it wasn't just media reacting. Sponsorship teams across the industry went into overdrive. Brands that had passed on Caitlyn just months ago were now begging to get on her Court Vision launch. An internal leak from Gatorade showed a proposal for a full brand alignment, reportedly offering Caitlyn one of the largest endorsement packages ever presented to a female athlete. Nike, already in her corner, doubled down. They reposted the commercial with the caption, "We heard her loud and clear, and now the world will too." But while the public and corporate world leaned in, a war was breaking out internally at the WNBA. Several anonymous players who had once criticized Caitlyn for overshadowing the league began changing their tune. Some tweeted their excitement for Court Vision. Others began resharing the commercial. Suddenly, Caitlyn wasn't the problem. She was the blueprint. Even more shocking, veteran players started DMing Caitlyn directly. Sources close to her team confirmed that at least 6 major names reached out asking how they could collaborate, pitch their stories, or get involved with Court Vision's player storytelling series. Because the truth was unavoidable. Caitlyn had created a lane, and now everyone wanted to drive in it. And that's when the WNBA had to face a horrifying realization. They had spent months trying to control her narrative, trying to balance the spotlight, trying to limit her creative reach for the sake of team unity. But Caitlyn never needed their camera. She brought her own. And now the league had 2 choices. Fight her and risk alienating the only marketing engine that had brought them national headlines in years. Join her and admit they were wrong. So what did they do? They issued the most awkward, sanitized statement in league history. "We support all our athletes and their creative endeavors. Caitlyn's commercial and future ventures are part of a growing ecosystem that uplifts the entire league." Translation: "We're terrified, but we can't admit it." Meanwhile, league insiders revealed that top execs were debating new policy changes that would give the league rights to review and approve any off-court branding that references league content. Yes, they're trying to retroactively gain control. And fans? They're not having it. The top comment under the WNBA's post read, "Too late. You had the queen and tried to make her a pawn. She built her own board." And the TV networks? They're flipping fast. HBO, Netflix, and Amazon are reportedly in a bidding war for a behind-the-scenes Caitlyn Clark documentary. Not focused on her basketball, but on her rise as a marketing rebel. Sources say HBO has already sent a production team to shadow her next public shoot. One producer told Variety, "This is the Air Jordan moment of women's sports." Except Jordan didn't expose the system. He worked within it. Caitlyn? She's exposing it frame by frame. And that brings us to the most dramatic part of the public reaction, The divide. Because while fans and media celebrate Caitlyn's genius, a deep fracture is forming inside the WNBA. Players who spent years being ignored feel conflicted. Do they join Caitlyn's wave and get the spotlight they always deserved? Or do they resist and risk being left behind? One tweet summed it up. She opened the door. Whether you walk through it is on you. And as for Caitlyn, she hasn't said a word since the teaser. No interviews, no clarifications, no follow-ups. Just that message. The game isn't broken. It's controlled. And now, everyone's watching July 14th. Because what happens on that date could change women's sports forever. Let's back up. As fans and brands continued buzzing about the upcoming July 14th launch, a new leak emerged. This time, it didn't come from sports insiders. It came from a disgruntled former CourtVision developer, someone involved in the early build-out of the digital infrastructure. Their post, which quickly got deleted, read, "The real genius behind this isn't even Caitlyn. She's brilliant, yes, but someone else greenlit the machine. Someone who's been blacklisted in sports media for years. Check the funding, follow the architecture, you'll see." That was all it took. Reddit exploded. TikTok detectives launched investigations, and within hours, an anonymous source dropped the name, LeBron James. Yes, him. Allegedly LeBron, through his Spring Hill company, a media empire co-founded with Maverick Carter, was quietly backing CourtVision from behind the curtain. Not as a face, not as a co-producer, but as an invisible kingmaker helping usher in the next generation of athlete empowerment. And suddenly, everything made sense. Because who else in modern sports history had done what Caitlyn just did? LeBron. He didn't just play the game, he changed it. From player empowerment to media production to bypassing the traditional endorsement ecosystem. LeBron had built the exact playbook Caitlyn was now following. And upgrading. Sources say that back in 2023, LeBron's team approached Caitlyn's camp discreetly, offering structural guidance for a project that could evolve the way female athletes control their stories. Insiders claim LeBron even said, "They're never going to give you what you've already earned. You'll have to take it. I can help." The collaboration was never supposed to be public, and Spring Hill's involvement was meant to be invisible, guiding architecture, logistics, and negotiations without branding it. But now, the truth was slipping out. CourtVision wasn't just Caitlyn's rebellion. It was a torch pass. And the sports world lost its mind. LeBron trended for 48 hours straight. Sports pundits argued on live TV. Is LeBron using Caitlyn as a pawn in his own fight with the establishment? Or is he actually the only one who believed in her power from the start? But fans weren't confused. They saw the full picture. This wasn't about control. This was about liberation. LeBron had spent 2 decades fighting corporate interference, league politics, and media suppression. And now he was investing in the next disruptor. A young woman who refused to follow the script. And while Caitlyn never publicly confirmed LeBron's role, Spring Hill's lawyers declined to comment. Several receipts began surfacing. A now-deleted photo of Caitlyn entering the Spring Hill offices last year. Internal metadata linking early CourtVision trademarks to a shared Spring Hill shell company. A quietly edited Wikipedia page that listed Spring Hill as an initial architectural consultant for an unnamed athlete project in 2024. It was undeniable. And now, the pressure is at an all-time high. Because if CourtVision succeeds, it won't just change the WNBA, it will change everything. Athletes across sports will begin demanding control over their narratives. Networks will lose their grip. Leagues will scramble to maintain authority. And Caitlyn? She'll be remembered not just as a baller, but as a revolutionary. But here's where it gets even crazier. In the most recent update to the CourtVision site, which is still just a black landing page with that one chilling message, new code was discovered by tech-savvy fans, hidden in the site's HTML footer. Then, a countdown timer appeared. Silent. No context, No music, just numbers ticking down. And the label above it? Phase 2. What's Phase 2? Nobody knows. Some believe it's a live docuseries premiere. Others think it's an announcement of a player-owned alternative league. And a few whisper the wildest theory yet. Phase 2 will expose the names of execs who tried to silence her. If that's true, this is about to go from sports drama to industry earthquake. And Caitlin? Still silent. No statements. No interviews. No press tour. Just one post, dropped 24 hours after the countdown began. July 14th isn't the finish line. It's the starting whistle. Then she logged off. That's where we are now. The WNBA is spiraling. Networks are negotiating in panic. Sponsors are reshuffling entire budgets. And fans? They're watching history unfold. Because this isn't just about a commercial anymore. It's about control. It's about narrative. It's about a new era. And Caitlin Clark just became the face of the revolution. Caitlin Clark didn't just drop a commercial. She declared war on the system. And now, with court vision on the horizon, with cryptic countdowns, hidden messages, and possibly LeBron James himself backing this player-led movement, we are standing at the edge of something monumental. So we need to ask you, do you believe the WNBA has been suppressing player voices for years? Should more athletes bypass the league entirely and tell their stories directly to fans? Is Caitlin Clark building a future where women in sports finally own their power? Or is she about to face the biggest media backlash of her life? Drop your answers in the comments right now. We are watching every reaction, reading every theory, pinning the boldest takes. If you've seen the signs, if you've noticed the marketing machine acting strange, if you believe there's more to come, if you think Phase 2 could expose names, execs, or the secret media deals made behind closed doors, say it. This is your platform now. Caitlin handed you the keys. Don't let the silence win. Smash that like button to join the resistance. Don't hit subscribe to stay ahead of the curve. We are breaking every update as it drops. And turn on notifications so you don't miss what might be the biggest moment in sports history on July 14th. Because this is just the beginning. And if you think this was wild, wait until you find out which other athlete has been quietly helping Caitlin from day one and is now preparing to drop their own bombshell in Phase 2. We'll see you in the next update. And trust us, you're not ready for what's coming.